Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for checking out this video on Last Epoch, an action role-playing game by 11th Hour Games. Now if you're familiar with Path of Exile or anything in the Diablo series, you already know exactly what this game is. It's a hack and slash action game. You run around, you kill shit, you loot, rinse and repeat. Nothing here is going to blow your mind when it comes to those games, and if you're not familiar with them, there's some gameplay in the background throughout this video to kind of let you know what it's like. So the question becomes, do they do the formula some justice? Do they manage to pull it off? Because these games live and die by their loot system. They live and die by the feel of their combat. Is it snappy? Is it responsive? Does it feel good to kill those minions for their loot? A bit of a TLDR, full disclosure, I've only put about 50 hours into this game myself, so if you're looking for information on the end game and how deep that is, you might want to look elsewhere. But I will say, it's pretty good, and I'll break that down later in the video. Also worth mentioning, this game is in early access. I believe it's slated for release this May, 2023. So there's still a bit of time, but there is quite a bit of jank for a game that's going to be released in a couple of months. So let's rip the band-aid off and talk about that. Given it's the only real criticism I have for the game at the moment is I ran into a ridiculous amount of bugs. Whether it was this boss that just decided to start looking off to the right. He's obviously supposed to be looking and attacking me, not the side of the screen there. I think that was an issue with the copious amount of minions I had. Some of them you might be able to see on the little mini-map are kind of stuck out there. Now, not all the bugs are this egregious, but a lot of them kind of ran under my radar for a little while. Here we have some invisible enemies. Look, I'm pretty resilient to this stuff, but I also ran into a couple of instances where I'd have a point and a skill, for example, that would give me more skeletons, and then I just wouldn't get them. Or my skeletons would stop firing arrows when they're supposed to be firing flame arrows, and there was just no real explanation for why that was happening, but occasionally they would just fix themselves. But it's hard to trust a game where the systems aren't always matched up with what's happening. Again, early access, I'll tip my hat to that, and it wasn't something that broke the experience for me, but on occasion I'd have a skill that wasn't quite working, and I had to wonder, was it me? Was it the game? Did I misread something? What's going on? Also, while I ramble here, this clip that is 25 seconds long is your average load screen. Now, it wasn't just me. My friend playing it as well came up with the same issues. The load screens between areas are incredibly long for what is happening. I'd like that too. Now, to talk about abilities that don't work, I've just shown you a page of an ability saying a beam will come down when I kill a certain amount of enemies. That beam will travel. Here is me trying to test that out.
When you went to this.
The beam fucking moved into something. A couple. But I also put on the javelin strike I already had, so.
Okay, so you had the javelin strike. I only had one. I only got one ability.
I did. Fuck. It makes me sad.
It's just never gonna hit anybody.
No, like, cause it doesn't fucking
move.
Yeah, like, unless more enemies are coming at me, like
if you're kiting, I guess. Oh man, it didn't do.
It doesn't do any damage. Like, it's busted, right? It's right. Now I got the gripes out of the way. Let's start looking at what the game does really well. You have 5 classes to start with, and from those classes, each one has between 2 and 3 masteries. Some of them are still being worked on, but most are fully fleshed out and available in the game, and they all seem to play pretty well differently. Now, I only tried out 3 of them in any particular depth. 2 of them I didn't really get a chance at, but they felt good. The playstyles felt different, and even within the same class and the same mastery, there was a lot going on that I really appreciated. A lot of the games I find in this genre kind of meld together, and I feel like I'm just wearing a different skin half the time, but the playstyles actually felt quite different. Now, in terms of combat and enemy variety, I actually really enjoyed it. Here is some gameplay of me fighting a few different bosses, and you can see their attacks are really well telegraphed. Now, you might think these look easy. These are early game bosses, the majority of these, or just particularly hard enemies. But you can see everything is telegraphed. Everything's telegraphed really well. There is opportunities there for you to read what's going on and respond. I played a little bit of the end game, and it was just the same. The abilities that were going on, easy to read, kind of quite a challenge to take on. I really appreciated that in the end game. It wasn't just a meat shield, just a tank with millions of HP. It was actually thought behind what was going on. Where this game really shines. In a game like Path of Exile, a game I love, don't get me wrong, I don't want any hate in the comments for that. I often feel like it can be a little hard to read what's going on, I felt like I didn't have the same problem here. I don't know if it's the difference in the art style or just the way things read on paper, but it came across so well. In terms of build variety, here is a short snippet of just a single skill from the Necromancer, or the Acolyte, in fact, showing that once you pick a skill, you then have a wide tree of options within that skill to kind of change it to your liking. On this tree in particular, we have different types of skeletons. This is the passive skill tree for the Sentinel class, specifically the Void Knight is one of the 3 masteries. Up there you can see they also have the Paladin and the Forge Guard. Now, I initially started as a Necromancer. I love playing a Necromancer class, and I changed it up quite a bit as I was playing through. I didn't feel like I was ever stuck down one path. You do have the option to respec. If you're respecing on a tree like this, it means you just have to level it up again. Doesn't take very long. If you're respecing your passives, it costs you a little bit of gold. Nothing outrageous, but it felt like there was a little bit of weight to my choices, but I wasn't pigeonholed if I'd made the wrong one.
That ship will be your tomb.
Voice acting was a little bit questionable, but look, I won't hold it against them. The story isn't something I really paid too much attention to. It was serviceable, it was passing, but I mean, does anyone actually play these games for the story? If you do, more power to you, but it really wasn't for me. I really didn't get deep into the end game. It is a system that I quite liked. You run through quote unquote echoes, which allow you to kind of customize the difficulty, what kind of loot you're going to be getting from the system. I haven't bothered showing off any of it here because it would just look like regular gameplay. If you're really interested in what the end game looks like, I'd definitely suggest you check out some other videos on YouTube. But if you've played Diablo, if you've played Path of Exile, endgame systems, again, it follows that kind of progression where you're running kind of maps, essentially, and those things change in their difficulty, what you're looking for, what the bosses are, the perks you get out of them. I thought it was quite well done. You get blessings, you get obviously more and more material, you get more options at uniques. And I quite like that this game lets you almost farm unique items. Kind of up and down on that, but I think it has its benefits and its drawbacks. So in terms of whether this is worth your hard-earned cash, I would definitely recommend it. I recommended it to a friend. He's picked it up and he says he's going to go deep on it. He's really enjoying the game. Again, you know what you're in for with these type of games. The basics are there. Has good combat, has good progression. I think this is going to be a great game for people who like builds. Nothing super complex like in Path of Exile. You don't need to have Excel spreadsheets and all this shit around. But it's more in depth than a Diablo 3. I think it hits a good middle ground where you can experiment without absolutely ruining yourself with a build, then needing to start again. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this, please do let me know in the comments below, and feel free to subscribe if you don't mind. It does help me out. Is this a game you're going to pick up? I mean, to be honest, I was waiting for Diablo 4, but I'm really glad I've got this to tide me over until then, and I will be playing the open beta this weekend. If you want to see a video on that, let me know in the comments as well. Really keen to hear what you guys are thinking. And hey, just a reminder, I have started streaming occasionally on YouTube. I'll leave you with a bit of a clip here. Didn't stream it, but it was funny and with a mate.
I sent you a staff.
Oh.
Did that go to you?
It did. How did you do that?
So I clicked on your picture in the top left. Just gift item. It sent you. Because we can't exactly drop it on the ground because it doesn't work.
Do you get that?
It doesn't tell me. What is it?
It go. Oh,
Send me.
it should go like in the bottom right. Is there a box that you can open?
No.
How did you do it? So you put it in the item gifting to Big Cambo.
So gift item, and I put it in the thing and if confirm gift.
Where's confirm? What?
At the bottom of the picture. Wait.
It is. It is.
Okay.
How's this coming through?
Oh, okay, and then there's the little chest. Okay, yeah.